Welcome friends. Now we are starting with knowledge capsule on rate of interest on delayed payment of service tax, excise and custom, and we would be covering the increase in period of limitation for normal period non-fraud cases under service tax, excise and custom and related issues. Let's start with the interest on delayed payment of service tax, excise and custom. Now this rate of interest is being simplified and made uniform at the rate of 15% for service tax, excise and custom. It's a laudable change, widely appreciated. Under service tax, rate of interest for delayed payment of service tax is 15%, but if any amount is collected as service tax but not deposited, rate of interest would be 24%. So this is the only change in service tax. Otherwise, rate of interest uniformly applicable for service tax, excise and custom at the rate of 15%. You would be knowing that from 1st October 2014, rate of interest which is applicable on delayed payment of service tax is 18% if delay is up to 6 months. If delay is 6 to 12 months, rate of interest is 24%. If delay is more than a year, rate of interest is 30%. Now this is liberalized, and changes of this rate on delayed payment of service tax would be applicable from date of enactment of Finance Bill 2016. There are certain other provision which we should keep it in our mind. If any service provider having taxable turnover less than 60 lakh rupees in any of the preceding financial year or year covered in a notice, then rate of interest will be reduced by 3%. So effectively, rate of interest would be 12% wherever 15% applicable, 21% wherever 24% is applicable. In terms of 73B of Finance Act, if any amount collected in excess of assessed tax, then rate of interest was 18%, which is now also made uniform with the 15% rate of interest on delayed payment of service tax. So having understood this application, now let's understand certain open queries which is coming out for applicability of rate of interest on delayed payment of service tax. Now this rate of interest for delayed payment of service tax is applicable from date of enactment of Finance Bill 2016, which is not known as on date today on 16 April 2016 when we are recording this knowledge capsule. But for our understanding sake, let's understand that date of enactment of Finance Bill 2016 is 1st June 2016. So this new rate would be applicable on or after 1st June 2016. So there may be query in your mind, what happened for my past period liability? Let's say my liability which is due to be paid by 6th July 2015, but I am making payment on 6th December 2016. So what rate of interest would be applicable? So we have to apply the old rate, 18% up to 6 month delay from 6th July 2015 up to 6 months 18%, 6 to 12 months 24% till 31st May 2016. After 1st June 2016, the new rate 15% would be applicable, not the 30% which is applicable for beyond 1 year period time limit. This is one part of it. Second query which is coming out, in what situation 15% rate of interest applicable or 24% rate of interest applicable? As we all know, under service tax liability to be deposited on accrual basis by all SSE except individual, firm, sole proprietorship or partnership, including LLP. Now one person company got added from 1st April 2016 to be, they can pay service tax on collection basis provided they are having taxable turnover less than 50 lakh rupees in preceding financial year. They continue to pay service tax on collection basis in current financial year up to 50 lakh rupees. Wearing these SSC, all SSC has to pay service tax on accrual basis. So to understand applicability of 15% and 24%, let's understand if I am a company and my liability to be deposited on accrual basis, then rate of interest to be applied would be 15%, not 24%. And when 24% applicable? When I am charging any amount as service tax, collecting as service tax but not depositing with the government exchequer, then rate of interest applicable would be 24% even though my liability is accrual basis. So understanding this point, let's to next question. What is the next question? Let's say I am raising invoice without charging service tax on the premise. I assume this transaction is not taxable, but after 2 years it's concluded that this transaction is chargeable to service tax. So this question may come up to our mind. I didn't charge service tax when I raised the invoice on a prima facie interpretation that this is not taxable, but after 2 years it concluded it is chargeable to service tax. So this question will come whether I have collected any amount as service tax, and rate of interest would be applicable 24% as against 15%. To my considered view, wherever we are not charging any amount on invoice as service tax, it cannot be said I have collected the service tax, hence 24% rate of interest would be applicable. Though it may be argued that it is a cum tax value in terms of 67 subsection 2. But while arguing this particular thing, it cannot be alleged that I have collected some amount as service tax which was mentioned on my invoice. So to my perception and interpretation, which I see, unless I charge any amount on invoice, collect that amount as service tax and don't deposit, then 24% would be applicable. Otherwise normal rate of interest 15% would be applicable. Moving further, let's say my liability is accrual. I am raising invoice for 10 lakh, charging service tax. I collect 50% money along with the service tax, and balance 50% I have not collected. Now decide what rate of interest would be applicable. The 50% amount which I have collected, and I have collected the service tax also but do not deposit, rate of interest would be 24%, and wherever my liability just on an accrual basis, my rate of interest would be 15%. That is what we are understanding for rate of interest applicability on delayed payment of service tax. Now moving to next line item. Period of limitation for non-fraud cases is now getting increased under service tax, excise and custom. Under excise and custom, this is increasing from 1 year to 2 years, and under service tax it is increasing from 18 months to 30 months. If you look at service tax provision, the relevant date is due date of filing return. So due date of filing return, so for April to September you file return by 25th of October. So virtually it is more than 36 months, and that too for non-fraud cases, where when there is no fraud, no suppression, no collusion, no willful misstatement with an intent to evade taxes, this period of limitation increased from 18 months to 30 months under service tax, 1 year to 2 years under excise and custom. Big debate is going on. Why this period is increased? When we are filing electronic return, e-filing of return is happening under excise and service tax. Why government required too longer a time period for non-fraud cases? Recently, number of position has been created, commissioner, principal commissioner, number of commissionerate increased, even though this period is increased, and this period increase is giving contrary message towards ease of business, doing business in India. It is not simplification. What message we want to give it to you? Start up India and stand up India. And what message we are giving to foreign investors coming and wanted to do business in India. As a citizen charter, what is appreciated that this normal period should not be increased and restored to the similar period provision which is existing today. One open line item. Now this provision would be applicable only from date of enactment of Finance Bill 2016. So question may come up after the enactment of Finance Bill 2016 whether this increased time period for non-fraud cases would be applicable even for the past period prior to the date of enactment of Finance Bill 2016. To my considered view, that it should always be prospective, it will not be retrospective, but it is better a transition provision may be inserted before this Finance Bill 2016 get passed by Parliament. This will provide clarity and certainty that period prior to Finance Bill enactment, old provision would be applicable, period after Finance Bill enactment, new provision would be applicable. But we are requesting again to the government to look into the matter. For non-fraud cases, period of limitation should not be increased from 18 months to 30 months under service tax, 1 year to 2 years under excise and custom. So we are summing up these two important line items in this knowledge capsule. In case any query, you can come back and write back to us. We'll definitely come back to you. Thanks for watching this knowledge capsule. Thank you very much.